Developing right now on Morning News Now, war on the water. Overnight, Iran striking more tankers near and along the critical Strait of Hormuz, effectively cutting off a fifth of the world's oil supply. And from the sky, Iranian forces launching what they call their most intense operation since the war began. Now the U.S. is attacking Iran's air capabilities as President Trump vows to finish the job.
The main thing is we have to win this thing, win it quickly, but win it. Most people say it's already been won. It's just a question of when. When do we stop?
Here at home, oil prices on the rise again. Now the U.S. and dozens of other countries making plans to dip into their reserves. We'll bring you the latest. Also developing devastation across the Midwest after a series of severe storms that spawned several tornadoes. At least 2 people are dead, more are injured, and millions of people now waking up to winter alerts from Minnesota to New England. Some spots could get up to a foot of snow. Angie is tracking the conditions. Plus, recall alert, a popular glucose monitor used by diabetics pulled off the shelves after it's linked to at least 7 deaths. Now, doctors warning against the technology as some patients pursue legal action. What you need to know. And ripped off, an eye-opening new study shows Americans are collectively losing more than $100 billion, yes, billion with a B, to scams every year. Look at how it's happening and who's most at risk. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off. We begin this Thursday morning with ongoing coverage of the war with Iran as the conflict stretches into its 13th day. Iran has launched what the country's state media is calling its most intense operation since the war began. Overnight, Iran fired a volley of its most advanced ballistic missiles toward Tel Aviv and Haifa in Israel. The U.S. military also intensifying its strike. Central Command says it has eliminated 16 Iranian mine layers, along with multiple naval vessels near the Strait of Hormuz. That critical passageway has become the focal point of the Middle East this week. The U.S. and Iran are fighting for control of that vital shipping lane. 20% of the world's oil typically passes through it. Overnight, 3 more oil tankers were attacked, proof that Iran has now effectively halted supplies through the strait. And yesterday, a British maritime monitoring agency said 3 ships were hit in separate incidents near the strait. That includes a Thai bulk carrier that was hit by an unknown projectile in the Persian Gulf, just northwest of Dubai. Hoping to ease sky-high oil prices worldwide, the International Energy Agency has now agreed to release 400 million barrels of oil from member countries' reserves. The U.S. Department of Energy says that includes 172 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The move failed to drive down oil prices. They briefly touched $100 a barrel again as the financial fallout from the war with Iran spreads. We have a team of correspondents and analysts joining us this morning to break down the latest, including the war's growing economic and political impact. We begin with NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons in Dubai. Keir, good morning. So yesterday, the UAE, where you are, said it was responding to missiles fired from Iran. There are reports that at the Dubai International Airport, 4 people were injured by 2 drones. What is the latest on the ground there?
That's right, Joe, and there was damage done to a tower in the DIFC center that you can see behind me here. That shot there, I think, is from the marina. Another tower that was hit, the UAE says, by debris from a drone that was fired on Dubai. We get alerts on our phones overnight to shelter in place when these kinds of attacks are incoming. The UAE has managed to stop most, frankly, of the missiles and drones that are targeted on this city and on this country. But the UAE has suffered 50% of the attacks, and that is having an impact on the psychology of the place, even if mostly there are people wounded, but not many fatalities. The success, if you like, of stopping the attacks is mitigated against the reality of that most people who live here didn't expect to be living through this. And then, as you mentioned just at the beginning there, off the coast here, a cargo ship was hit, and 2 tankers off the coast of Iraq by unidentified objects. There are reports of unmanned boats filled with explosives sent towards these ships. And that is all about, as you say, this battle over the Strait of Hormuz and whether the U.S. is going to be capable of reopening that very narrow passageway in places that is just 20 nautical miles wide. And that gives you a picture of why it is so easy, honestly, for Iran to target ships there and to stop it from being able to be used by shipping $1.5 billion of oil normally passes through that strait every day. Right now, Joe, hardly anything is getting through.
Kieran, we are nearly 2 weeks into this conflict now, and Dubai is an important center of commerce, normally considered pretty safe within a region that can be quite hostile. So what is daily life in Dubai like right now, and what has changed since the initial days of the war?
Look, I think the aim, Iran's, let me answer that in terms of the way that Iran is trying to counter the Israeli U.S. war, and that is that it is trying to hit Dubai here because it is an economic center in the middle of a number of countries that are U.S. partners and allies, and it is targeting the Strait of Hormuz because that is an economic lifeline for the world economy. Now, President Trump, of course, is talking about the fact, he says, that this war will be over soon, within days. But the difficulty here is that the Middle East looks set to teach him a lesson, which is that it's easier to start a war than to end a war. And what we're hearing from the Iranians is, for example, messages like, we will not stop targeting the Gulf, places like where I am, unless the Gulf agrees to no longer host U.S. bases. Saying things like, we will not stop this war unless the U.S. and Israel agrees to stop, to never attack us again. Now, clearly, President Trump isn't going to be able to agree to that. But then he's going to face a choice between doubling down or having to give up, if you like. He's clearly not going to give up, so he's going to have to double down, and that's going to be more risk for U.S. servicemen and women, unless there can be some kind of a negotiated settlement. Problem there is, and you're gaining from this, Joe, just how difficult a situation we're in. Problem there is the kinds of countries that would be negotiating with Iran here in the Gulf are being targeted.
Good point. Keir Simmons reporting from Dubai. Keir, thank you so much. NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren joins us now from Washington to break down some of the latest out of the Middle East. Colonel, good morning. Let's start with that February 28th strike on an elementary school in Iran, which killed more than 170 people, including many children. So NBC News is reporting that outdated intelligence likely led to that deadly missile strike. That's according to a U.S. official, also 3 sources who are familiar with the preliminary findings. The U.S. military has yet to formally conclude if the U.S. is responsible, but we know an American official and a person familiar with these early findings also told NBC an American Tomahawk missile was probably responsible. So with all that said, how would the U.S. military go about holding someone responsible for this if, in the end, what we're reporting is found to be true?
Hey, Joe, and thanks for that. And I'm glad you mentioned that it's still under investigation. That's very key and critical now. These investigations take time because there are so many people involved in the targeting process. The targets are looked at, they're developed by the intelligence agencies often. They are reviewed by targeters. They're reviewed by people who decide what type of weapon to use. They're reviewed by civilian and military lawyers, legal experts in the laws of land warfare. So there are a number of people who touch each one of these. In the military, we call them target packages. And a package is simply just all the data you need to take a strike. So anyway, so a lot of people involved in this. So the investigation has to determine what went wrong, where the breakdown was. If it's determined that there is, gross negligence or major incompetence, then punishments can include all the way up to court-martials. Certainly careers can be derailed or even ruined. In the case of civilians, if there is something even worse than negligence, if there was some intent, then potentially there could even be legal consequences.
Colonel, let's talk about what Keir was reporting on Iran ramping up those attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. It's effectively shutting down shipping throughout that critical waterway. Overnight, as we mentioned, 3 more tankers were hit. And the Indian embassy in Baghdad says one person died after a U.S.-owned crude oil tanker was attacked near southern Iraq. So based on all that and what we know about Iran's capabilities, How long do we think Iran can keep the strait closed?
Joe, this gets to the power of psychology in warfare. You know, the Iranians, quite frankly, have not closed the straits physically. In other words, they do not have naval vessels out there conducting patrols. They have not laid minefields. They do not have air power conducting air patrols over the straits. But what they've done is through a series of small strikes with these unmanned drones, they have convinced the shipping captains, right, the mariners, that it's too dangerous for them to risk transiting that strait. And so that's why this strait is effectively closed.
So if the focus of the war, or at least a primary focus, does become reopening the strait, how exactly could the U.S. military do that? I mean, can it be done with airstrikes alone, or could we perhaps see naval combat that potentially risks the lives of more U.S. service members?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it kind of follows on to what I just said. These straits are closed because ship captains perceive them as too dangerous to cross. So the only way to get them open again, in my view, air power won't do it alone. Air power will not do it. We'll have to put U.S. naval vessels on patrol inside that strait to give those captains, those skippers, confidence that they're going to be safe.
Colonel, good to have you with us as always. Thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona for more on this story, also from Washington. Mel, good morning. So President Trump did address the rising cost of oil in a speech he was giving at a rally in Kentucky yesterday. Let's play some of that. We'll talk on the other side.
The International Energy Agency agreed to coordinate the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from various national petroleum reserves around the world, which will substantially reduce the oil prices as we end this threat to America and this threat to the world. We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job, right?
So, Mel, as I mentioned earlier, a good chunk of that $400 million in oil coming from the U.S., right? So how long does it typically take to have an impact on prices?
Yeah, good morning, Joe. This was a highly anticipated move. Lawmakers had actually been calling on the release of oils from the reserve in order to address the supply disruption caused by the war. And of those 400 million barrels of oil, 172 million will come from the United States. So that's a pretty significant portion right there. But according to the Department of Energy, it's going to take 120 days in order to deliver based on planned discharge rates. So it could be actually some time before we see an impact on prices. And while the markets initially responded very positively to this news, the price of U.S. crude oil did tick back up again. So clearly there is still some concern about a prolonged conflict here.
So, Mel, it might be easy to forget with everything going on. This is an election year. This rally in Kentucky, actually the president's first political event since the war began. Walk us through why the president's in Kentucky, a pretty reliably red state, and also on top of that, just what's the explanation he's giving, talking about the war and just the economic impacts it's having?
Yeah, so the selection of Kentucky appears to be twofold. Number one, Trump did visit a packaging facility where he touted the economy and manufacturing. This all part of this broader affordability tour that he has been trying to go on. But number two, and perhaps the biggest reason, is that this is also the district that is home to Republican Thomas Massie. He is one of Trump's biggest political foes inside the Republican Party. And Thomas Massie has opposed him very forcefully and publicly on a number of issues, including the war in Iran. So Trump spent some time going after Massie. He brought up his Republican opponent in the primary on the stage, someone that Trump is endorsing and backing. And Trump also really defended his decision to go to war in Iran. He said there were some, quote, evil people that needed to be taken care of, that they were threatening to take out the Middle East, including Israel. And Trump also assured that this so-called incursion, as he likes to call it, is going to end quickly, and that when it does, these oil prices will come down.
Now, speaking of Capitol Hill, we are learning some more details about that closed-door briefing that took place on Tuesday. We talked about it yesterday. Now, three sources who are familiar with the matter are telling NBC News the Defense Department officials told a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee the estimated cost the first 6 days of the war, $11.3 billion. Mel, how are lawmakers reacting to that number?
Well, lawmakers want more information, particularly Democrats. They say they want a full accounting of just how much has already been spent on this war and how much will be spent, given the fact that we are expecting the administration at some point to ask Congress to pass a supplemental aid package in order to help deal with the war in Iran. Just take a listen to Democratic Senator Chris Coons.
I expect that the current total operating number is significantly above that. To assume that it is well above $1.5 billion a day, I think would be a fair guess.
And Democrats are also calling for public hearings on the war in Iran. But so far, Republicans are resisting those calls, saying the Trump administration has been completely transparent with Congress and also arguing that Democrats just want to use those hearings to try to embarrass some Trump officials. Joe.
All right, Mel, thank you so much. A strong line of storms is sweeping across the country this morning. Severe weather watches are in place, stretching from the southeast to the mid-Atlantic. In Maryland, what appears to be a shelf cloud was spotted overnight. That typically means a solid line of storms is coming in. In the south, strong thunderstorms packing damaging winds, flooded roads. National Weather Service in New Orleans warned people to take shelter after a suspected tornado was spotted northwest of the city. And more than 200,000 people scattered from Texas all the way up to New York are without power. Crews are now working to restore service after at least 16 tornadoes were reported yesterday. Authorities say at least 10 people were injured, 2 were killed because of the severe weather. For the very latest, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa. She's out in Lake Village, Indiana, joins us with the latest. So, Maggie, what's the latest where you are? What are you seeing?
So, Joe, what we're seeing is the home behind us where those 2 people were killed. Family tells us this is the home, and it's breathtaking to see, where Ed and Arlene Kozlowski, a couple in their 80s who've been married more than 60 years, this is where they tried to ride out the storm. Their grandson telling us they were killed here, and you can see, I mean, just what's left of it. I mean, this is like a cinder block foundation, right? And then we have piles of belongings behind it, that massive kitchen sink on top of it there in the background, that red SUV tossed behind that with this tree on top of it. I mean, it's just completely destroyed. This is their lives in pieces, and there are so many families. Again, there were 2 deaths in this storm, and this is what we're talking about here, but there are so many other families who woke up to scenes like this. Luckily, they survived, but their homes also completely destroyed. The damage here is staggering. It's widespread, and for a lot of people, it was the scariest moments of their lives. We talked to another family about a quarter mile from here, and here's part of what the dad told us about what they went through.
If you're by a train and you feel it in your chest, that's how you felt it. It was that powerful and then you just hear all hell break loose.
You heard all hell break loose. That family also telling me not only did they feel the tornado, but they could feel the hail in their chest. He said it's the cliche thing to say it sounded like a freight train, but we could really feel it vibrating our bodies. And he said it sounded like baseballs were being thrown at the house. That's how powerful just the hail was. So, Joe, we've talked about the devastating human toll. As far as property damage goes, on top of that, local authorities have said more than 100 homes and structures were damaged, and dozens of those, some 30-something, were completely destroyed, just like this house, this devastation behind me. Joe.
Just the early stages of the cleanup there. Maggie, thank you so much. The forecast is filled with all kinds of alerts now for millions of people looking ahead. Angie Lastman joins us with some new updates on what's to come with your Morning News Now weather. Angie, good morning.
Hi, Joe. Good morning to you. We've got still a kind of robust line of thunderstorms working across the southeast this morning. This is just part of the alerts that I'm going to show you. Well, let's start with that tornado watch that goes through at least 9 a.m. Eastern time. This is also kind of prompting some of these tornado warnings across parts of southern Georgia at this hour, just to the west of Valdosta. And again, a whole lot of lightning, heavy rain, and a fairly robust system that's working across this region here through the day today. We're going to see that rain and snow mixing in for parts of the Northeast. It also is going to be chillier. You'll notice a big difference in what we dealt with yesterday and the day before compared to what we're dealing with today as far as our temperatures go. But the showers and the strong storms for the first half of the day across the Southeast, and then we'll see those kind of work farther to the east, and we'll be looking at less impactful weather. weather there. Meanwhile, a whole lot of winter alerts still up. You can see some of this snow falling across parts of the northern plains, and we're going to see this next system kind of dive out of Canada and rush across parts of the northern plains through the day today. This brings us some snow, some wind, anywhere from Washington state to Wisconsin. We'll pick up the potential for that. I'll show you those wind alerts here in a moment. They're pretty impressive. And then we'll see, as we look into our Friday, some snow potential for the Great Lakes into New England. And you guessed it, those strong winds are going to be with that system still at that point. By the time we get through at least tomorrow, we'll see the snowfall amounts. Again, those northern tiers of the upper Midwest in New England, about a half of a foot in some of those higher elevations across parts of New York through tomorrow. There's those wind alerts. 80 million people, again, from the Pacific Northwest out towards parts of the mid-Atlantic. We have the potential to see wind gusts anywhere 40, 50, 60, even close to 70 miles per hour. These are peak gusts at least through tomorrow. So heads up for any down branches, down trees, those kind of things. Definitely a day where you want to bring the trash can in. But even more than that, these strong winds could potentially be slowing you down a bit. Those high-profile vehicles on the roadways and such. This is going to be something that we talk about through at least tomorrow, Joe.
You know something's up with the weather when we wake up this morning. It's nearly 60 degrees, and I guess by the time I leave this afternoon, it'll be in the 30s. Is that right?
Yes, and I brought my parka this morning, and people were looking at me quite weird, but I thought, I know what's going to happen later today.
I was listening to you. I carried mine. I didn't wear it, knowing that I'll need it later.
Smart.
Thank you, Angie. Appreciate it. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, major ripoff, a staggering survey showing Americans are losing billions of dollars to scammers. We'll take a closer look at the problem and how you can protect yourself. Up first after the break, a manufacturing mistake involving a popular device for diabetics now being linked to several deaths. What patients need to know next. Stay with us. We are back with an NBC News exclusive report on a common medical device now at the center of several legal challenges. It's also linked to several deaths. Millions of Americans use glucose monitors to make sure their blood sugar stays at a healthy level. It is a crucial lifeline for people with diabetes. Well, now roughly 3 million devices from a top manufacturer have been recalled because of an error that has involved at least 7 deaths. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson spoke to one man who claims his dad died because of a faulty reading.
Abbott's Freestyle Libre 3 glucose monitors offer diabetics painless readings. Blood sugar levels taken not with a finger prick, but a sensor on the arm. The readings sent to a monitor or cell phone. For Devontae Ford, a licensed caregiver, it was a valuable tool attending to his dad, Michael, bedbound by diabetes.
What are your memories of him dealing with diabetes?
Always like the finger prick. That was something I always seen him do.
So diabetes was just part of his life?
It was something that his mother, grandmother, so something that ran in the family as well. So that was something that he already knew how to manage.
And since 2024, managed with the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus.
Ultimately, he was heavily reliant on it.
But Devontae says it failed last November 16th.
What happened that morning?
So in that morning, the blood sugar is always pretty low.
Devontae gave him sweetened coffee as usual, but the monitor readings stayed low.
So more coffee, a little bit more sugar, and it started to creep up a little bit.
Only Devontae says to fall again.
I thought something was pretty strange with that.
He says no amount of carbohydrates could get his dad's blood sugar to stay elevated.
I noticed that he was speaking really softly, and then I ended up calling 911 anyway.
By the time the paramedics arrived, Devontae's dad was unresponsive.
He had ended up coding, so he had a cardiac arrest, and he couldn't breathe on his own at that point, so they had to do CPR to him. And then when they told me the blood sugar level, they said it was 551.
5 times higher than what it should have been, and 8 times higher, Devontae says, than what the monitor showed. Michael never regained consciousness and died the next day, November 17th, at the hospital. 7 days later, Abbott announced an international recall for the Freestyle Libre 3 and Libre 3 Plus sensors for incorrect low readings. As of January 7th, the company has reported 860 serious injuries and 7 deaths.
How did you find out that the monitor was being recalled?
So my mom, she went on her computer and she said a notification popped up, and she said before she even actually clicked on it, she just knew, because we already knew that something was wrong with it. And it felt like divine intervention.
Devontae is now suing Abbott. The company has not yet responded to the lawsuit, but in a statement to NBC News, Abbott says, "We are deeply saddened by the situation. We are committed to the safety and quality of our products. We take all adverse event reports seriously. Each situation is thoroughly documented, investigated, and shared with regulatory authorities as required." Dr. Melanie Jay works with diabetics as the director of NYU Langone's obesity research program.
Should patients rely on these monitors?
I think these monitors are a great tool, but as with any medical device or any tool, there can be malfunctions and there can be ways that they're not used properly. And so it's just not to blindly rely on them.
Devontae says he never noticed a problem before that morning in November.
We just never had a scare ever, and this was the first one and the last one.
Now he can't stop thinking about it. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Let's talk more about this story. Joined now by NBC News medical reporter Dr. Akshay Syal and NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Good morning to both of you. Dr. Syal, let's start with you. So if someone, first of all, has one of these recalled monitors or they know someone who does, what should they do with it?
Well, Joe, I would say the first step is don't ignore this recall. You know, you saw in that piece there that the sort of brands that are affected with this, and you can see on your screen the Freestyle Libre 3, the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus. You know, the manufacturer has put out a website called freestylecheck.com, Joe, where you can actually, put in your device's specific information, see if it's affected. And the reason, people should take this seriously, you saw in that piece hundreds of injuries, 7 deaths, all outside of the U.S. Joe, I see this all the time. When patients' blood sugars are too high and sort of, out of control, it can affect virtually every organ in the body, from the heart to the kidneys to the eyes. So definitely something people want to take seriously and not brush this off if they are using, one of these devices.
Yeah, and even with that in mind, even if your device is not on the recalled list, what do you do to just check and make sure that it's working properly?
Yeah, the doctor in that story, Joe, she said it so well, is that, these are great tools, but you don't want to blindly rely on them. And we have patients often who will call our office and say, my glucose monitor, it doesn't feel like it's accurate. And, what we do is we bring them into the office. We can check their sugar through a finger stick or through a blood test. And you can actually calibrate these devices, Joe. So a lot of them have apps, and you can sort of put in other readings and see how they compare to the monitor. And that, a good rule of thumb that the manufacturer is like is a 20% rule where, if the monitor is reading 100, you want to see if your sugar is between 80 and 120, or about a 20% difference either way. So we can actually calibrate these for patients. So if you feel like they're not working, definitely give your doctor a call.
And so knowing that you shouldn't blindly rely on them, what are some of the precautions people can take to have a backup if, like you say, some people suspect that their glucose readings are off?
Yeah, have that finger stick device at home, Joe. And, a lot of our diabetic patients, they'll tell us, I don't feel like my sugar's quite right. Sometimes people can tell they're a little bit high or a little bit low. Sometimes they may not. It's not always symptomatic. But if you feel like your sugars are off, you feel off, you feel like you're having some of those symptoms, definitely have that backup finger stick option at home. The CGMs, the continuous glucose monitors, and the finger stick readings, Joe, they actually measure blood glucose or blood sugar a little bit differently through different mechanisms. So it's always a good idea to have that second option on hand because it could change your insulin dosing, it could change how many carbs you're eating, it could be life-threatening, Joe. So very, very important people take this seriously.
No doubt. Danny, I want to bring you in here, talk about the legal aspects of this, and we'll start with Devontae's wrongful death lawsuit profiled there in Ann's story. Talk about how strong you think his case is, what stands out to you.
What stands out to me is that this isn't just a strict liability case. This isn't just a case where the plaintiff is alleging, hey, you put out this defective product. They're alleging fraud. They're alleging that the company knew in advance there was a problem and still put the product out there. That is very different. That could entitle them to what are called punitive or punishment damages. So the plaintiffs here, apparently, at least from the allegations in the complaint, feel very confident they can show not only that the product was defective, but that the company, the defendant, may have known that it was defective and still put it out into the area of commerce.
After we had this recall, in addition to this wrongful death suit, you've got at least 3 class action lawsuits. 3 other people plan to bring separate lawsuits against Abbott for injuries, citing these incorrect readings. So that's a lot of legal action there. How does this all play out? What goes first? How's that sorted out?
So class actions are a vehicle created by the federal rules, and they exist in state courts as well, where you can have a class representative plaintiff but sue on behalf of an entire population set, so long as the population set has something in common with each other. So that could be a major vehicle for change. And class actions, and this is a plaintiff's attorney speaking, so take it with a grain of salt, but they are a tremendous vehicle for social, political, and legislative change, where sometimes legislatures cannot change things as easily. These lawsuits create powerful financial incentives because they're suing on behalf of sometimes thousands of people. They can create powerful financial incentives for companies and industries to start self-regulating.
Danny and Dr. Sayal, thank you both for joining us to talk about this important story. We appreciate it. Coming up, we've got continuing coverage of the war with Iran. Our Richard Engel will join us after the break. Plus, we're going to take you inside a hospital in Beirut where some of the youngest victims of war are being treated. Morning News Now will be right back. We're back with the latest on the war in the Middle East. As Israel and the United States continue to pummel Iran with strikes, Iran is retaliating by intensifying its strikes on oil sites and vessels across the Gulf. These two fuel tankers in Iraqi waters were seen on fire following an attack. And that's prompting Iraq to shut down oil port operations. Other oil sites in Bahrain and Oman also went up in flames following a series of attacks. These ongoing hostilities in and around the Strait of Hormuz sent oil prices rocketing. Yesterday's emergency release of crude oil reserves, the largest ever, so far doing little to stem the surge. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel joins us now from central Israel. Richard, tell us what you're seeing where you are this morning.
Well, it is not just Iran that is carrying out attacks against Israel and Gulf nations, affecting world markets. Hezbollah is getting much more involved in this fight and in a much more intense way. This house where I am right now in central Israel was hit by a Hezbollah rocket. And just last night, according to Israeli Army radio, Hezbollah fired more than 100 rockets at Israel. Now, Hezbollah is a militia group based in Lebanon. It is backed by Iran, and now it has effectively joined Iran's side in open war. If we go over here, you can see the crater. This is where the rocket impacted. It drilled this hole in the ground, destroyed quite a bit of the building behind it. You can see it's peppered with holes from shrapnel and effectively leveled this building right here, this home. Now, there was an elderly woman inside, an 86-year-old, along with her caregiver, and they were both fine, completely uninjured. They were inside the safe room. And the significance of this attack and Hezbollah's deeper involvement is that Iran and Hezbollah are now coordinating their attacks, with Iran focusing a lot of its effort on oil, on the oil industry, disrupting markets, increasing the cost globally of this war, and Hezbollah firing more and more rockets at central Israel, northern Israel. And the distances are very different and significant here. When Iran fires a missile toward Israel, it has to travel hundreds and hundreds of miles, giving Israeli air defenses, American air defenses, other countries' air defenses ample opportunity to shoot it down. Hezbollah sits right on Israel's northern border in Lebanon. So when missiles are fired from there, they can still be shot down, but there is almost no warning time. And the daughter-in-law of the owner of this house told me that they didn't get much advance warning, just an air raid siren, and then seconds later, this explosion.
Just a devastating sight there, and a reminder of the many layers of this war, Richard. When we are talking about what we're seeing across the Gulf region and Iran firing on these shipping and these oil sites, talk more about what Iran's goal appears to be right now.
Iran's goal is survival, primarily. The Islamic Revolutionary Government there has had its leadership attacked, its supreme leader killed, the new supreme leader reportedly injured, not life-threatening injuries, but injured nonetheless. Many senior commanders have been eliminated. So it is fighting for its survival, and one of the ways it is trying to do that is by increasing the cost of this war in order to apply pressure on the American people, on the Gulf, in order to get President Trump and Israel to stop the attacks and pursue some sort of negotiated settlement.
Richard, we're also getting some new details about that strike on the Iranian elementary school, killed 170 people, most of them children, in the earliest day of the war. We reported last week it was likely a U.S. munition that hit the school. Now we're learning more from our sources about why it could have happened. Tell us more about what we're hearing.
So the initial reporting, which was even then quite conclusive, showed a Tomahawk missile approaching this school. The U.S. was using Tomahawks in the area. The U.S. uses Tomahawk cruise missiles. And the new reporting is that, according to multiple sources, the preliminary findings are that it was, in fact, a U.S. strike based on old intelligence, because this area where the school is, the area around it, was a former military base, a former active base, and it seems that the targeting was using that old information, which considered it to be still an active military site.
Richard Engel in central Israel. As always, we appreciate you and your crew's dogged reporting. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's go to Lebanon now. At least 8 people were killed in an Israeli strike on the seafront of Beirut. The Lebanese government says so far more than 600 people have been killed since the war began, with hundreds of thousands displaced. And all that is raising fears of a new humanitarian crisis. NBC's Danielle Hamamdjian takes us inside a Beirut hospital where she spent time with some of the youngest victims of the war, and a warning: some of the images in this report may be distressing.
In this central Beirut hospital, a grandmother's grief echoes through the ward. Forgive me, she says. I didn't want to cry in front of you. Amina is consoling her granddaughter and mourning her own daughter, who was killed in the first few hours of the war, shielding 4-year-old Malika, who suffered shrapnel wounds to her face. She lost her life trying to protect her daughter, she says. And just like I raised your mother, she tells her, I will raise you. Malika and her family were in the process of evacuating, Amina says, when their car was hit. And then there's an 11-year-old girl, one of 3 sisters, severely injured. She's just come out of surgery.
How did it go?
It went well. The doctor operating on all these patients, Dr. Hassan Abu Sitta, a plastic and reconstructive surgeon who made headlines around the world for his work in Gaza in the months after October 7th. He then started a foundation solely focused on the children.
If these things become normal to you, then you've lost something very important. You need to be continuously outraged.
In the first week of the war, an average of 10 children a day were killed in Lebanon, according to government officials, as Israel targets Hezbollah, a paramilitary group funded and backed by Iran. Lebanese children are not the only children here being treated due to Israeli strikes. Some of them are from Gaza. Like 6-year-old Omar, the sole survivor of an Israeli strike that killed his entire family. He says he was playing on his bicycle in December 2023 when he was blown away by an explosion. This is him right after, part of a generation of amputees from Gaza. Today, he's got a new prosthetic arm, an infectious laugh, and a few English words in his vocabulary. Zebra. He says he wants to become an engineer to rebuild Gaza and a doctor to help the people of Gaza. But not too far away is once again the all too familiar sound of Israeli strikes, this time on Beirut, where the death toll is quickly rising.
You need to be outraged when a child tells you that she was sitting on her mom's lap when her mom was killed. That moral outrage is what keeps us human and what differentiates us from those who do the killing.
Danielle Hamamdjian, NBC News.
Coming up, a major cyber attack against an American company. It might be linked to Iran. What we know coming up in our Money Minute, next on Morning News Now. We're back now with details from a new study that found scams could be costing Americans more than $100 billion a year. That number much higher than the official numbers from the FBI, which experts say is grossly underreported. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News cybersecurity and technology reporter Kevin Collier. He's written about scams and joins us with more. Kevin, good to have you with us. So, a lot of scams out there. What kind of scams did this study look at?
So this is based on the FBI's annual cybercrime report, which is pretty all-encompassing because it's kind of hard right now to imagine any scam that doesn't include your phone or your computer. It means investment scams, romance scams, fake packages, fake employment scams, all those things along those lines.
I think all of us can relate to these robocalls we've been getting on our cell phones and those text messages. So do these scams cover those things, or are they more sophisticated?
It does. Those classic robocalls, it was a year and a half ago maybe that we were all getting all these text messages, random messages, or fake tolls or fake package deliveries. All of those are included, yeah.
So when we talk about that much money, $100 billion, what types of scams are the ones that are costing Americans the most money?
So it's a simple term, investment scams, but it's a little complicated when you get down to it. Frankly, it feels like everybody knows someone who has been a victim of one of these scams. The investment scam generally is a pig butchering scam, which goes like you start with a person kind of creating a fake relationship online, a purely phone-based relationship. They might be a romantic partner or a friend, something along those lines. And then they eventually convince the victim, it might take months, to invest cryptocurrency into some sort of fake, platform. And when they do that, they are actually just giving money to somebody that they're never going to get it back. So they're buying cryptocurrency, sending it to somebody else, and they're never going to see it again.
Did you say pig butchering?
Pig butchering, yeah, it's a translation from a Chinese term because the scam started in China. The idea is the scammers have derisively referred to their victims as hogs that they're kind of fattening for the slaughter.
Wow, all right. So I mentioned these FBI, how those numbers are so underreported. Help us understand why that is.
Well, so the FBI, there's not really a way for the government to keep accurate tabs on how pervasive the scam economy, the international scam economy is. We just kind of know it's huge, right? So both the FBI and the FTC will ask Americans to self-report, and people do. But of course, I mean, if you or I fall for a scam, what are the odds we're actually going to hey, turn to the FBI? They're probably not going to be able to help us, but they might be able to. But the odds are not great. Are we going to detail everything? Not everybody's necessarily going to do that. A lot of times scam victims have a sense of shame. They might not even know to turn to the FBI. So what this study did is it looked at the number of the numbers that the FBI puts out from people that self-report. And it looked at studies that show how underreported scams are, and then kind of extrapolated from there to get this enormous $119 billion a year number.
And no matter what the numbers are, we know it's an issue. So what is it the government's doing to try and cut down on these scams? And if you do think you've been scammed, what is it you should do?
There's a couple of resources online. The FTC and identitytheft.org have great resources for scam victims. You do see the government doing some things. The Justice Department will periodically announce that they've helped take down some scam compound. The FBI will say that they have clawed back some victim funds that they've sent cryptocurrency to a scammer. But by and large, there's majority of scam losses are lost. One of the things that the researchers I spoke with really stressed to me is the United States does not really have substantial data privacy laws, and scammers can buy legally all kinds of personal information on all Americans that's repackaged legally and sold. And if we had laws that better strictly regulate that, they said we would see maybe the scam economy shrink a little bit, at least as it's aimed towards Americans.
All right, Kevin, thanks for your reporting. Appreciate it. From scams to cyber warfare now, and an Iran-linked hacker group claiming responsibility for a major attack on an American company. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has the details, plus your Money Minute. Good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. They attacked the medical equipment and technology company Stryker. The attack appears to have remotely wiped some employee devices, disrupting communications and work systems. Stryker says the incident has been contained and that there are no signs of ransomware. From hacks to cuts, software company Atlassian is slashing about 1,600 jobs, roughly 10% of its global workforce. The CEO saying the company is restructuring to invest more in AI and enterprise sales. It's just the latest tech firm to reduce staff as automation continues to reshape software development. And shoppers may soon see a fan favorite item back at Trader Joe's, according to reports. The retailer's popular mini canvas tote bags are returning to stores this month. That's after selling out quickly during past releases. The bags will once again come in pastel colors like pink, blue, mint green, and lavender. While they do sell for just $2.99 at Trader Joe's, some bags are listed on eBay for as high as $50,000. Joe, there is a catch, though, here. Yeah. They're not going to release them on a specific date. We just know they're coming to stores in mid-March. So
to shop at Trader Joe's every day.
Well, maybe the real loyal customers, the ones who will actually get them, right? Because they'll be in there every day and see them and be able to snag them while they're in.
As someone who lives in New York, I have enough totes. I'm good. No more totes are needed. So someone else can have mine. All right. Thanks, Emily. Appreciate it. Coming up, America's team heading to the quarterfinals after surviving a major upset at the World Baseball Classic. Team USA now set to face our neighbor to the north, Canada, on Friday. We'll touch base with our friend Baker Machado next on Morning News Now. It's a home run. All right, let's end this hour with the latest from the World Baseball Classic. Now that the quarterfinal matchups are locked in, and yes, the United States did advance. The U.S. team will play Canada now tomorrow after missing out on the knockout stages entirely. The bracket is set and will put some of the biggest names in baseball against each other. The tournament started with games played around the world from Tokyo to San Juan. Fans have been treated to major upsets, walk-off home runs, plenty of national pride. Each team will play out the rest of their games here in the U.S., hoping to lift the championship trophy for their country next week in Miami. For more on the knockout rounds of this year's Classic, joined now by the host of Front Office Sports and friend of the show, Baker Machado. Good to have you with us. So first we have to walk through, because it looked like Team USA might not make it. They lost to Italy. They needed Italy to not just win, but walk us through what happened yesterday.
Win decisively, too. I mean, yes, this was crazy. And up until last night, Italy, of course, beating Mexico, and the United States needing that to happen to advance into the quarterfinals, because Italy destroyed the United States earlier this week, one of the most shocking upsets in WBC history. And I think all the more interesting in this is the fact that the United States and manager Mark DeRosa already thought that the United States was already advancing to the quarterfinals, which is why he didn't play some of the best players in Bryce Harper and Alex Bregman on Tuesday in that loss to Italy, who have sort of become the darlings of this tournament now. Anyway, that's all moot now, because
did he figure it out like midway through the? Well, what point did he figure out that they had to win?
I think after the game was over, or they lost, he's like, oh, I think I should have played some of my best players in that game. But anyway, it's all for moot now. The United States is on to the quarterfinals, and as you say, they're playing Canada. Canada, by the way, beat us 20 years ago in a very shocking upset, but we've beaten the Canadians the last couple times in the tournament. That game is going to be happening on Friday. So obviously, the United States favored to win that one, and that is an exciting moment here for the U.S.
We talk so much about the U.S. versus Canada over these last few weeks.
It never ends.
In so many ways. This is interesting because you get the big stars of the MLB facing each other in new ways. They face each other during the season, but what quarterfinal matchups are you most excited about?
I mean, so obviously the U.S.-Canada one's going to be great, but let's go back to that to sort of the tournament look right here, because right now the United States will play the winner of the Dominican Republic and South Korea. Now, the Dominicans are the favorites to win the entire thing. They have a stacked lineup of Juan Soto, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and so many others. On the other side, you have Venezuela and Japan. That one's going to be a good one as well. Japan, the reigning champions in this tournament, obviously Shohei Ohtani and a bunch of other great guys on that roster as well. So right now, really, those are sort of the really big matchups that they're. Puerto Rico and Italy, as I mentioned, Italy becoming the darlings of the tournament. They're undefeated. When they beat the United States, the manager of Italy said it was the greatest day of his life, which was like really saying something.
And he lives in Italy, so that's saying something right there. Team USA at this point, what do we put their odds at? They've been humbled, but maybe that'll make them hungry. I don't know.
This is one of the most stacked USA rosters really in recent memory, led, of course, by the captain, Aaron Judge. As I mentioned, Bryce Harper, you have Alex Bregman, a list of so many other really great athletes on this roster as well. The U.S. really could spoil this entire thing by beating the Dominicans if they meet them in the next round. So obviously the U.S. is really favorite in this one. I think the U.S. has a really good chance to win this thing.
With that being said, who do you think is going to make it to the final? Your predictions, odd makers predictions. What are we looking at for the final and then for the...
So really right now, if the United States can beat Canada, which again, they're the favorites for on that game on Friday, then on Sunday, they would then play the winner of the South Korea-Dominican Republic game. Really, honestly, that one would be one of the favorites to take on Japan to then win the entire thing. So if the United States can beat the Dominicans, there is a good chance they can win. But we should note the last time the U.S., which, by the way, has made it to the finals 3 straight tournaments, lost to Japan in 2023. So again, a lot of things could happen here, but the U.S. still has a good chance here to win.
Or Italy could just win.
Or Italy could surprise us all and win. And by the way, then the manager would say, "This is the best day of my life."
That would be the best day of his life, and then he'll go back to Italy and have many more amazing days of his life. Baker Machado, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. But don't go anywhere. The news continues right now. Good Thursday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. Right now on Morning News Now, mayhem in the Middle East. Violent attacks rocking the region on day 13 of the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. The conflict briefly sending oil prices surging past $100 a barrel once again. It's despite a pledge to release billions of barrels from global reserves. U.S. and Israeli airstrikes shook Beirut and Tehran overnight, while deadly attacks believed to be from Iran set oil tankers ablaze in the Persian Gulf. We're going to have the latest developments in the multi-front battle, and we'll get an expert's view on what could be next for oil prices. Plus, calling it quits, hundreds of TSA workers walking off the job after working without pay for weeks as that partial government shutdown drags on. How it could impact your spring break travel plans and the effort now to restore funding. Next up, serving up savings, fast food chains like McDonald's rolling out new value meals. It's a battle for your bucks as Americans grapple with the rising cost of dining out, where to find the best deals. And finally, a legendary athlete. We are catching up with the most decorated U.S. Winter Paralympian of all time, American Oksana Masters, joining us fresh off her latest win, her 3rd gold medal at the Milan Cortina Games. Can't wait for that conversation. We begin this hour with the latest developments out of the Middle East as the U.S. enters its 13th day at war with Iran. Overnight, 3 more oil tankers were attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, proof that Iran has effectively halted supplies through that critical passageway. And the price of oil once again surged above $100 a barrel. That's despite dozens of countries agreeing to release 400 million barrels of oil from their reserves. Much more on the war with Iran. Let's bring in NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel. Richard, good morning.
I am now in central Israel, and this strike was carried out by the Lebanese-based group Hezbollah. And you can see where the rocket impacted here, destroying this house. And Hezbollah and Iran are now coordinating their attacks, with Hezbollah increasingly firing on Israel and Iran trying to disrupt global trade. What looks like a tiny jet is an Iranian Shahid drone smashing into an oil depot in Oman near the Strait of Hormuz. Part of those Iranian strikes aimed at driving up prices, hitting infrastructure, and attacking ships near the strait. An Iranian official now saying the world should brace for oil to reach $200 a barrel. A military spokesman saying, "We will never allow a single liter of oil to pass through the Strait of Hormuz for the benefit of the United States, the Zionist regime, or their partners." Iran's strategy is now clear: a war on global trade. So the more Iran suffers, the more everyone else will too. But as Israeli and U.S. strikes on Iran's military aircraft, leaders, and bases intensify, Iran's capabilities are going down rapidly, U.S. and Israeli military officials say. President Trump says he's not finished degrading Iran yet, but maybe soon. Ophir Falk is a senior advisor to Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu.
We are degrading their capabilities almost back to the Stone Age. And pretty soon now, we're going to pass that torch to the Iranian people, and they'll need to seize the moment.
And this morning, Israel's Benny Gantz, a former defense minister and Netanyahu critic who says he put aside his differences with the prime minister during wartime, saying they're hitting Iran's leadership and military in order to clear the way for the Iranian people.
We hope to set the conditions for others to make a decision. That's, I think, the way we should look at it.
But it sounds a bit like a strategy of smash everything and hope for the best.
You could simplify it like this, but basically, look, we know that things that has to do inside Iran are for the Iranian people to decide.
In Lebanon, the war between Israel and Hezbollah is escalating dramatically. Israeli warplanes bombarded Beirut's southern suburbs and South Lebanon, after Hezbollah reportedly launched more than 150 drones and rockets at northern Israel. And Israel's defense minister this morning warned the Lebanese government that if it can't control Hezbollah and stop the group from carrying out attacks like this one, Israel will take more Lebanese territory.
All right, Richard, thank you. President Trump is already declaring victory in the war with Iran, while at the same time insisting the U.S. must, in his words, finish the job. The president hitting the campaign trail now as he tries to reassure Americans who are worried about the rising costs of oil and gas. Our chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has the latest.
The war in Iran causing oil and gas prices to spike. Global oil prices hitting $100 a barrel overnight. Americans experiencing that pain at the pump with gas prices up more than 60 cents since the war began. Now $3.60 a gallon on average. With video overnight showing Iran unleashing new attacks and tanker traffic remains at a standstill in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has also been targeting Iran there. President Trump aiming to calm fears last night.
We're going to be in very good shape. The straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats.
It comes after dozens of countries agree to release 400 million barrels of oil to deal with the disruption. President Trump also saying he'll tap the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve to try to bring down costs. But experts caution the impact on gas prices will likely be minimal. With the war under 2 weeks old, the president declaring victory yesterday.
Let me tell you, we've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won, we won.
But just moments later insisting there's still more work to do.
We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job.
President Trump telling Axios earlier, quote, anytime I want it to end, it will end. With more than 5,500 strikes already carried out by the U.S. military, President Trump also said there is practically nothing left to target. But later, when pressed by NBC News,
what more do you need to do militarily for this operation to end?
More of the same, and we'll see how that all comes out. We're leaving certain things that if we take them out, or we could take them out by this afternoon, in fact, within an hour, they literally would never be able to build that country back.
Another headline we're watching, a federal law enforcement source tells NBC News that the FBI issued a bulletin to police departments in California in the last several days that says Iran could attack the U.S., especially the West Coast, by launching drones from vessels in the Pacific. The source says that it was sent out for precautionary reasons only. It is unverified intelligence. It was received in the last month, well before the Iran war had begun. And to be clear, the source says there is no credible evidence of any imminent attack. And multiple law enforcement sources tell NBC News there are no specific threats to the U.S. homeland. Back to you.
All right, Peter, thank you. Let's get more analysis now on oil prices with John Kilduff. He's a founding partner at Again Capital. John, good to have you with us. So as we heard, all the members of the International Energy Agency agreeing now to release those 400 million barrels of oil. It's the largest emergency crude release in history. The U.S. releasing 172 million barrels from its own strategic reserves. Despite that, we're seeing oil prices still rising. Why is that? Why are these moves failing to ease some of the supply concerns?
Well, good morning. It is the right response given the crisis that we are now in, and it's developing. I mean, this is a brewing energy crisis, full blown, full stop. The reason that prices aren't doing what the policymakers, I guess, had hoped it would is because it's just simply not enough. When these strategic petroleum reserves have been tapped in the past, it's usually related to a more isolated situation, say with Iraq, or more recently with Russia, or when hurricanes, say, strafe our production facilities along the Gulf Coast. This time, we have the bulk of the OPEC producers offline, 20 million barrels a day against a 400 million barrel SPR release globally. You can do the math on that and realize it only covers about 20 days. There is a limit to how much can be put on the market on a daily basis by those SPRs, maybe 2 to 2.5 million barrels a day. Again, versus the 20 or so million barrels a day that are being lost currently.
Another big worry I know from analysts is just oil storage capacity. Many fear if the war drags on, Gulf producers could run out of places to store everything. They could be forced then to shut down production. How soon could that happen? If it happens, how long could it take to then restart the production?
Well, it's starting to happen now. These countries aren't built to produce oil and put it in a storage tank. They're built to produce oil, get it on a ship, and get paid. And that's the problem they're running into right now is full storage. And the problem with the worry you hear about from people like myself is that we know that when these countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait shut in their production, it is not all that easy for them to restart it. They have to be very careful with these fields. They bring them back on slowly. So now all of a sudden, it's not a matter of flipping a switch and hearing that the strait is opened. It's getting the strait back opened and then knowing that it's going to take another additional several weeks, if not months, for these countries to get back to full production, exacerbating the shortage of crude oil into the global market and generating these high prices.
As we keep talking about this morning, we just keep seeing these attacks on the oil facilities in the Gulf, the tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Why is it so easy for Iran to control that strait? And do you think Iran's warning of oil prices potentially hitting $200 a barrel, is that realistic?
It's realistic in a sort of worst case scenario, which is what we're lurching towards. Look, the strait is basically it's 2 1-mile wide transit lanes, so it is easily struck. We know that now that there's mines in the area, and look, you don't need very much in terms of a vessel or a small drone to attack these ships. They're carrying highly combustible cargo that goes up pretty darn easily. So the fear is that they could easily be attacked. The shipping companies don't want to go through. The crews certainly don't want to go through. And for now, the U.S. Navy is declining requests to escort vessels through the strait. For me, that's the big thing that needs to happen here. The U.S. Navy needs to be able to provide the protection to the fleet out there so that this oil can get moving again.
John Kilduff, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. With airports nationwide now in full spring break mode, the TSA is issuing a new travel warning. The agency says, along with increased call-outs by officers and the partial government shutdown, well, now some of its employees are just calling it quits. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has the latest from Reagan Airport. Tom, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So listen, since the beginning of this Homeland Security funding shutdown, the TSA officers nationwide have been working without a paycheck. This is after they lost 3 paychecks in the fall. And now a lot of them are saying, listen, they've got to put food on the table. They're calling out sick. They're taking a second job to do that. And some of them are simply walking away.
1 month in, and the funding fight on Capitol Hill is now taking a toll at airports nationwide. Morale among TSA staffers diminishing as officers are forced to work without a paycheck, some struggling just to afford the basics.
You're behind on the rent, and do you have enough to buy groceries and that kind of thing?
Everything is a struggle. I do feel forgotten about. How long is this one going to last? We don't know. And every day we're just wondering, will we get our check soon?
In Las Vegas, one of the casinos delivered lunch to unpaid TSA staffers, while the Denver airport is collecting $10 and $20 grocery and gas gift cards to help officers just get by. The TSA says 300 have now quit just since the start of the shutdown. Meanwhile, call-outs are tripling. All of it contributing to major backups at security checkpoints, including a 3+ hour wait at Houston Hobby earlier in the week. Atlanta, New Orleans, and JFK also hit hard by staffing shortages.
It significantly impacts operations. It also significantly degrades morale.
All of Homeland Security remains defunded with no end in sight as lawmakers fight over how to reform ICE policing tactics. On Wednesday, Republicans rejected efforts by Democrats to fund most DHS agencies, including the TSA.
We have one side that's saying we're not going to sit down and talk. I don't know how you defend that, honestly.
We are not going to be blackmailed. Stop blocking the funding for TSA and FEMA and Coast Guard and more while these negotiations on ICE and Border Patrol continue.
All of it with passengers caught in the middle during a peak travel season.
Kids are on spring break, school is out. There's a lot of people traveling right now.
The government needs to get their act together.
so that we can live our normal life.
Let's stress one point here. That is that the typical TSA officer is working paycheck to paycheck, according to the union, and they don't have a huge pile of cash to fall back on when they don't receive a paycheck. I think both sides would agree they're not being treated fairly here. In the meantime, we can tell you that the concern is that more will call out sick, more will not show up to work as we head into the very, very busy upcoming spring break travel weeks. Joe, back to you.
All right, a lot of headaches there, Tom. Thank you. Now to the severe weather impacting millions from the Midwest to Southeast. This morning, 80 million people in the Midwest waking up to strong wind advisories. Cleanup there continues from those deadly tornadoes that moved through the area earlier this week. In the South, it was another night of wild weather as the National Weather Service in Louisiana says a suspected tornado was spotted northwest of New Orleans. For the very latest, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa. She's in Lake Village, Indiana, which was hit hard. Joins us with more. Maggie, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Devastating scenes like this one behind me are stacking up, as you point out, across several states now. This one, though, particularly gutting. Family tells us this is where Arlene and Ed Kozlowski, a couple in their 80s, were killed during Tuesday's storm. And you can see what's left of their home. It's just foundation and then piles of belongings, like a sink back there and that red SUV off in the distance. This is their lives left in pieces. And this monster run of severe weather continues. Overnight, another band of severe weather sweeping across the country.
What's happening right now?
Tornadoes touching down in Arkansas and Louisiana, flattening trees and power lines, along with storms in the Northeast and the hard-hit Midwest. In northern Ohio, powerful winds ripped the roof off this motorcycle dealership. The region's still recovering after 21 reported tornadoes swept through on Tuesday. These new satellite images show how the massive system spread across multiple states, including Illinois and Indiana. While drone video captures the scope of the devastation on the ground, entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble in a matter of minutes. Fire officials in Indiana blaming the violent storm for the deaths of a couple in their 80s killed in their home. Neighbors describe waking up in the middle of the night to a twister barreling through like a freight train.
I just feel it in my bones. It was like
in your bones?
Yeah, I just wanted to hold on to my mom. It was scary.
Tornadoes also causing widespread damage in Kankakee, Illinois. The National Weather Service says Tuesday night's storm also produced hail measuring 6 inches wide.
It sounded like our house was exploding. It was hitting it so hard.
The eerie aftermath, frightening for those seeing the damage for the first time.
Gives you the chills to think that somebody could have survived it.
And back out here live, we talked about the human toll, the couple killed here in this home. It's also worth noting that officials say at least 10 people were injured. They thankfully should survive. They also say more than 100 homes were damaged, dozens of them, just like this one, completely destroyed. Joe.
All right, Maggie, thank you so much. Let's continue our extreme weather coverage with meteorologist Angie Lastman. She's here with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Unfortunately, still dealing with the potential for some severe weather for the first half of today. You can see that line of thunderstorms still very much active and working across parts of the southeast. Notice we've got this tornado watch now in effect through at least 1 o'clock. We've seen this extended here in the past hour. Already tornado warnings. We've got a whole slew of thunderstorm warnings across much of Georgia. So waking up to a very active morning, places like Augusta and just east of Albany included in that. And we have that potential again through at least the first half of the day into the early afternoon hours. That system is going to be on its way out, but between now and then, the showers and thunderstorms for the first half of the day again across the southeast. And then for parts of the northeast, you're going to see colder conditions working in and that rain with some snow mixing in. So we are, of course, in a little bit of a weather whiplash with how warm it was at the start of the week to now dealing with a couple of flakes flying across some of those same regions. Speaking of snowflakes, we've got another area that we're watching across parts of the northern plains. This is going to prompt a whole lot of winter alerts, a lot of them already up right now. And you can see this same system that I just mentioned going to dive out of Canada, work across the northern plains and leave us with the potential for some additional snow and wind. That area that we're looking at is quite expansive. Anywhere from Washington state to Wisconsin through the day today is where you'll see the active wind and snow. And then as we get into tomorrow, it's the Great Lakes stretching into New England that could see both of those same threats, so the snow and wind. The wind alerts also quite expansive. 80 million people included in these. That same region from the Pacific Northwest to the Great Lakes and out towards the Appalachians. This is leaving us with the potential to see 40, 50, 60, even 70 mile per hour wind gusts over the next 24 hours. So heads up for that. Meanwhile, totally different story unfolding across parts of Southern California. We've got heat alerts, 21 million people impacted by these. And notice where our temperatures are going over the next couple of days. Look at Irvine on this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. We're into the 90s. Ramona also into the 90s. We've got Palm Springs, 97 degrees. These temperatures quite warm over the extended period. And it's mostly the West Coast that's going to deal with that. And then just a sliver of parts of the East Coast for today. So still 70s for Savannah and Norfolk. The cooler air, though, filtering in for our friends across the East. And then we keep it quite warm for most of the West. The Rockies tomorrow, 71 degrees in Denver. Joe, this is way warm compared to where we should be. And we kind of keep those mixed temperatures going for parts of the North and then parts of the South here as we get into early next week.
So you get to pick either hot or cold.
Yeah. Stormy, snowy, we've got rain, the snow, we've got it all on the table today.
Weather. There you go. Thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. It's Throwback Thursday, so later this hour, we're going to look at how some of our favorite stars are responding to a question that's going viral online, asking, what were you like in the 90s? Up first, the cost of denial. Our ongoing series takes a look at the legal battle brewing over allegations that a major insurance provider plotted to defraud residents in Oklahoma, why hundreds of people are now suing the provider when we come back. We're back now with our series, The Cost of Denial, where we investigate the challenges people face with insurance. This morning, we're looking at why one family in Oklahoma is joining hundreds of others across the state in suing State Farm. It's now all playing out in the courts while the state's attorney general is comparing the insurance giant to the mob. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has more.
The roof is very steep.
Billy Hirsch couldn't believe what he was hearing from his insurance company.
There's a hole in the roof, and State Farm comes out and it's in fair condition. We're like, there's a hole in the roof.
The police officer and his wife, Lacey,
look, I'm losing a turn,
live with their 5-year-old on a cul-de-sac just outside Tulsa, Oklahoma. That hole in their roof, they say, the result of a vicious hailstorm in 2023. Billy says he spoke to multiple contractors and everyone agreed.
You need a full roof replacement. And for them, it seemed like a no-brainer. They would say, who's your insurance provider? We'd say State Farm, and their heads would drop.
Despite having a policy that covered accidental damage to the home, State Farm denied their claim, finding the roof was in fair condition. 8 months later, another hailstorm, and the Hirsches say they found even more damage to the roof. This time, State Farm acknowledged it, but called it minor and refused to pay for any replacement.
Did you feel like, well, wait a minute, I paid my premiums on time, why am I not getting my roof fixed?
Absolutely. It makes you feel like the entire system of insurance is rigged.
Afraid of what might happen when the next storm hit, the Hirsches put on a brand new roof.
Every shingle up there is new.
The cost? More than $22,000.
We had to borrow against the equity in our house.
You had to borrow against the equity in your house to get your roof replaced?
Yeah. It forced us to reevaluate our financial planning by decades.
The Hirsches are now suing State Farm, alleging the company devised a fraudulent scheme to deny or underpay valid hail damage claims, saying State Farm knew its scheme would work only if it was kept secret.
We've discovered and reached a conclusion that State Farm has a scheme of deception.
The state's Attorney General Gentner Drummond now joining in this legal battle after a state court granted his office the power to investigate.
I think that as we go deeper into this lawsuit, we'll discover that State Farm has reaped billions of dollars of profits off of Oklahomans, and that's not going to be tolerated.
The Hirsches aren't the only ones suing. Law firms tell NBC News there are now more than 600 similar cases against State Farm in Oklahoma. The company, which is the #1 property insurer in the state, declined our request for an interview, but in legal filings has denied any wrongdoing. State Farm telling us it has paid more than $1 billion to Oklahoma customers for wind and hail damage to their homes and property over the past 2 years.
But Attorney General Drummond is investigating possible racketeering or RICO violations by the company, an allegation State Farm calls frivolous.
People think about RICO laws applying to the mob. Is State Farm the mob?
It may very well be. There may be a scheme inside of State Farm's leadership to intentionally defraud Oklahomans. And if that can be proven, that RICO will cross into the criminal world.
Whatever comes next, the Hirsches say a roof over your head is worth the fight.
If I can help protect my family and maybe help protect someone else's family, it's worth everything.
Our thanks to Laura Jarrett for that report. Now, a state court disagreed and granted Drummond's motion. State Farm appealed. The decision is now with the state Supreme Court. The case could take months to resolve. Coming up, a new law in Kansas invalidates hundreds of driver's licenses for transgender residents. Why some say they're now leaving the state. Next. Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with an update on tariffs from the Trump administration. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona joins us with Politics Now. Mel, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. We begin with the next phase of President Trump's trade war. The Trump administration announced Wednesday that it will launch a wave of tariff-related investigations into more than a dozen U.S. trade partners. Some of the trade partners that will be targeted include the European Union, Mexico, and China, each of which ranks among the top 5 sources of U.S. imports. Trump officials said they are looking to uncover unfair trade practices, and the process is likely to result in a fresh round of tariffs in the near future. Currently, the United States has a blanket 10% tariff on all trading partners, which was imposed after the Supreme Court struck down many of Trump's country-specific tariffs in late February. Next, the congressional investigation into Epstein is following the money trail. Yesterday, the House Oversight Committee deposed Richard Kahn, who was Epstein's accountant and oversaw all of the late convicted sex offenders' finances. One of the biggest questions surrounding Epstein is how he amassed his wealth and how he used it to finance his sex trafficking schemes. Kahn did cooperate with lawmakers and is not accused of any wrongdoing and said he never witnessed any of Epstein's crimes. And finally, another twist in the dramatic Republican primary for Texas Senate. Senator John Cornyn, who is facing a Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in a May runoff race, announced yesterday that he is now in favor of changing the Senate rules in order to pass the Save America Act. That voting restrictions bill is a top priority for President Trump, who has not yet endorsed a Republican candidate in the primary. While Paxton has already called to move the Senate filibuster in order to pass the bill, Cornyn has been a longtime defender of the 60-vote threshold, so his newfound support for changing the rules was a significant reversal for the longtime senator, who is desperately seeking Trump's backing in the race. And that's what's making news in politics this morning. Joe?
All right, Mel, thank you so much. In Kansas, some transgender residents say they're leaving the state after a new state law revoked more than 1,500 trans driver's licenses without warning last month. Kansas is now one of 5 states that have laws banning trans people from changing the gender marker on their driver's licenses or other IDs. Kansas is the first to pass a law that retroactively canceled licenses and birth certificates that had already been changed. NBC News Enterprise reporter Joe Yerkeba joins me now with more on this. Joe, good to have you with us. This new law went into effect immediately after it was passed last month. Walk us through how this all came together.
Good morning, Joe. Yeah, so this law was years in the making. In 2023, Kansas actually passed a different law that legally defines sex as either male or female and assigned at birth. And under that law, the Attorney General Chris Kobach tried to sue his own state to basically stop the Department of Revenue from issuing updated licenses to trans people. And the state Supreme Court ultimately told him he couldn't do that. So he responded by asking the legislature to pass this law. It makes Kansas the 5th state to have this kind of law, but the first to retroactively invalidate trans people's licenses.
And Joe, I know you've been speaking with members of the trans community in Kansas. What are they telling you about this, the impact it's having, including the fact that many are just saying it's time to move to another state?
Yeah, they're heartbroken. They're disappointed. 2 lifelong trans Kansans have told me that they're moving to other states basically because this sent them the message that trans people are no longer welcome in Kansas. 2 people have sued, but a judge declined to grant a temporary restraining order against the law, arguing that for him, there just wasn't enough evidence that trans people would face harassment and discrimination as a result of it.
This is a red state that has a Democratic governor, Laura Kelly, who did veto the bill last month, but the Republican-controlled state legislature overrode that veto. What are some of the reasons supporters of that override gave for passing this?
Yeah, they argued that the law is intended to ensure that identification is accurate and doesn't cause issues for law enforcement, but they really were focused more on the part of the law that bars trans people from using restrooms in government buildings that align with their gender identities. And they said that was intended to protect women in restrooms, though lower courts, when the Attorney General sued his state, argued that there wasn't much evidence to show that either of those things were an issue.
I know you spoke with some experts who talked about some of the risks this law could pose, not just in Kansas, but in other states considering similar laws. What are those experts saying?
They basically say that it makes it harder for trans people to just exist day to day. They note that, anytime someone presents their driver's license to the teller at the bank or to the clerk at the hotel or to rent a car, that now it will out them as transgender, which immediately puts them at a higher risk of harassment.
And can also create more issues if you're going to the airport or trying to do any sort of business there. We've spoken with many people about this. Joe Yokeba, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your reporting on this. Coming up, the next generation of mall rats, how Gen Z is rediscovering the mall and breathing new life into a classic teen hangout. That's next. Back now with the line we don't get to say very often. Your next meal out may cost less money. That's because McDonald's is seriously escalating the fast food wars by launching a new value meal that features some of its most popular items for $3 or less. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung joins us with more. The good news. Brian, good morning.
That's right. The secret's out, and it's, by the way, not the ingredients in that Big Mac sauce, but it's these reports that the burger giant is releasing its latest version of the value meal. This, as fast food chains continue to unveil menus with discounted meal deals or items with budget-focused consumers in mind. Fresh off the grill this morning, another serving of savings as fast food companies wrestle with affordability.
From breakfast to late night, make it a meal and save.
McDonald's will reportedly launch a new $3 and less value menu. That will include popular items like a sausage biscuit and 4-piece chicken McNuggets, according to the Wall Street Journal. The company is also reportedly set to unveil a $4 meal deal with a McMuffin, hash brown, and coffee, extending efforts to offer cheaper combos.
Let me show you what I got for $5.
While the days of the dollar menu are long gone,
we give you lots of great choices to make your own meal.
The Golden Arches now leaning into $3 deals, as McDonald's CEO Chris Kempczinski said last month that traffic has been pressured with lower-income consumers.
$3 is the new $1, basically, to give lower income and younger consumers something that they can get when they're going to McDonald's.
It comes as price-pinched consumers balk at higher fast food prices, as the cost of eating out has risen faster than the cost of groceries over the last year.
The fast food prices and the regular food prices and the price for fruits are all the same prices?
In September, McDonald's relaunched extra value meals after a 6-year hiatus.
It's time for a reset.
The McDonald's USA president telling us on Today,
the fact that McDonald's is actually going to be lowering prices, I think, is really notable and shows that we're in lockstep with our consumers.
Other fast food chains are delivering more deals, too.
This is still Domino's best deal ever.
From Domino's popular $9.99 any size pizza with unlimited toppings,
with 10 decadent items, all $3 or less.
Taco Bell's Luxe Value menu.
Now you can decide how biggie you want to go.
And Wendy's with biggie deals starting at a $4 price point. Experts say with affordability top of mind, the discounts could keep coming.
I would suspect that we're probably going to continue to see this into 2027.
And McDonald's value items and deals appear to be working. The company actually beat expectations in their last quarter. They're saying it was because of these fun promotions like the Monopoly sweepstakes, of course, but also saying that value meals are helping to get customers to pull up to their drive-thrus for a quick meal once again, Joe.
I didn't know the Monopoly thing happened. That was always fun.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah. I think they're done with that now.
They're done with that.
Yeah, I know. Right. If you're looking for Boardwalk, sorry.
Maybe I'll find it and be like, it's not worth anything. Brian, thank you. Appreciate it. Now for our Money Minute, the year-long boycott of Target led by an Atlanta pastor is now coming to an end. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has more on that in your Money Minute. Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. After discussions with the retailer about rebuilding trust with the black consumers, Jamal Harrison Bryant says his faith-based coalition is ending its protest. The boycott began after Target scaled back on diversity initiatives last year. Bryant says the company is showing support for the black community and has outlined more than $2 billion in investments. We've reached out to Target and haven't yet heard back. And Netflix is making a major move into AI. The streaming giant is buying Interpositive, the AI movie-making company founded by actor and filmmaker Ben Affleck. According to Bloomberg, for $600 million. It's the latest move in Hollywood that's raising concerns about potential job losses as more companies rely on AI. And we are expecting to see more foldable phones out on the streets in the future. According to multiple reports, Apple's developing a foldable iPhone with a screen that will be roughly the same size as an iPad mini. It will also have a system that allows for iPad-style layouts and side-by-side apps for the first time. Of course, rival Samsung does already have a foldable phone that it launched years ago. Apple's foldable phone is expected in the fall. Now, Joe, I kind of miss those flip phones. I had a silver Razr back in the day that I loved, and I actually think we had fewer butt dials back then because you could just close the phone and it wasn't going to call someone from your back pocket.
That is true. I'm getting it just because I like to dramatically close the phone when I'm done with a conversation, whether I'm happy or angry or whatever. All right, Emily, thanks so much. That 90s nostalgia isn't just trending online. It might also be breathing new life into one of the most iconic hangout spots of that era, the mall. For a lot of Gen Xers and older millennials, the mall was the place to be. You'd get dropped off by your parents, walk laps around the food court, grab a slice of pizza, maybe an Orange Julius, and just see NBC. Pop culture was all over it, too, from Fast Times at Ridgemont High to Mall Rats and Clueless. Hanging out at the mall was practically a teenage rite of passage.
Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
All right, after years of talk about the death of the mall, there are signs the mall rat era might be coming back. Gen Z showing up, shopping, filming TikToks, and turning mall trips into full-on social media content, which begs the question, are malls cool again? So let's bring in our cool expert, Caleb Silver, Chief Business Editor at People Inc., Editor-in-Chief of Investopedia, for more on the mall comeback. Caleb, we won't call you a loser. We welcome you here. Let's see. We've got a market research company. It is Circana. Shoppers age 18 to 14, according to them, they made 62% of their purchases in stores last year, compared to 52% for shoppers 25 and older. In other words, the younger people are shopping in stores more than the slightly older people. Talk about what's going on here.
Yeah, malls are no longer mid, Joe. They're fully bussing. Mid, full cap, no cap, whatever you want to say. The kids are back in malls, and a lot of that is driven by Snapchat, by TikTok. They want to go to the retail location and buy the thing and take pictures of themselves buying the thing that they saw online and then making a big deal of that. That's great news for malls, which have suffered greatly over the past few years. We know the pandemic almost took a lot of malls completely out of business. They're making a comeback, especially what we call the Class A malls, and that's being driven by retailers like Addictive that were online that are coming in-store, activations inside malls, making it more attractive, making it much more picturesque for those Snapchats and Instagrams and TikToks. And maybe we'll see a Tower Records come back sometime soon, maybe a Bradley's, maybe a Blockbuster, Joe. You never know.
Tower Records. I miss Tower Records so much. I was just talking about this with the nostalgia expert in the previous segment. It's a generation that just hasn't known life without the internet, without online shopping. So what is it about this in-person experience that does seem to be drawing them back to the mall?
It's the photographs. It's the watch me buy this. I'm here buying this thing that I saw online, and that's bringing a lot of them back in. So you can thank TikTok for that. You can thank Snapchat for that. But malls have done a pretty good job, especially what we call the Class A's. I was looking at the stock prices of companies like Simon Properties and McCarrish and Kimco. They're the big mall owners. They're up double digits in the past year compared to the rest of the market. So you're seeing a lot of that traffic come back into the malls. The regional malls not doing a great job, but you also see malls doing some retrofitting inside to make them more picturesque, painting the staircases with graffiti, making areas where people can take photographs of themselves with their favorite goods. So they're doing a nice job of that. And we're seeing a lot more in-purchase stores from Gen Z. 18 to 24-year-olds, 62% of their discretionary purchases inside the store, Joe. Not usual, not something we've seen over the past few years, but a welcome trend, especially for the retailers. And it's good for kids to get out of the house, off the couch, into the mall at least, where they're having some fun.
Exactly. And when we talk about those retailers, some are expanding. Clothing brand PacSun grew its store count last year. That was for the first time in 18 years. Plans to open dozens more stores. So how are retailers designing spaces with Gen Z in mind?
Exactly, by making them very photogenic, giving them places where they can make their Snapchats, make their TikToks, and make it look cool. And people like to do that sort of live Twitch where they're buying things and showing their friends that they're actually buying things. So you're seeing that among the online retailers that are going now into brick and mortar stores, but even the retailers that have made a big comeback that started in malls. Abercrombie and Fitch is one of them. There are several just like it, the Limited, trying to make a comeback here. So they are igniting and re-engaging with the younger generation who's embracing it, and that's good news for the retailers, good news for the malls as well.
It's kind of the key thing that Clay Rutledge, the nostalgia expert I spoke with, said is that they've grown up with this technology. They're not abandoning it. They want to experience some of the more tactile things, but mix it in with some of the things that they're familiar with too. All right, Caleb Silver, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Coming up, I'm going one-on-one with a Paralympian who is dominating the competition. Oksana Masters joining us next with more on what it takes to become the most decorated U.S. Winter Paralympian of all time. That is next on Morning News Now. We're back now at the latest out of the Paralympic Games in Milan Cortina. It was a great day for the U.S. para cross-country skiers as three Americans, Oksana Masters, Sydney Peterson, and Jake Adikoff, won gold yesterday. And the U.S. mixed wheelchair curling team defeated South Korea 9-2. What was essentially a must-win game for the Americans. The U.S. team returns to the sheet today for their final two round-robin games. Speaking of Oksana Masters, we are lucky to be ending this hour with the most decorated U.S. Winter Paralympian of all time herself. Just one day after she secured her third gold medal in the cross-country 10-kilometer interval start-sitting race. The dominant competitor now holds a grand total of 22 Paralympic medals, spanning both winter and summer sports, including skiing, parabiathlon, cycling, and rowing. It is the latest chapter of an incredible life story that began in Ukraine near Chernobyl, where she grew up in orphanages before moving to the U.S. and undergoing a series of surgeries. She details her brave story in her book titled The Hard Parts, a memoir of courage and triumph. Author and champion Oksana Masters joins us now. Oksana, good morning. We are so thrilled to have you with us after talking about you so much over the last several days. We're still not even a week out from the first day of competition, which was last Friday. You've already got 3 gold medals this year. How do you feel? Take us back to when you crossed the finish line in that latest race.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for covering our races and everything that Team USA is doing here in Milan. I feel incredible. I did not expect these kind of results at all. I was just fighting and hoping I'd get on the podium. Did not expect to have 3 golds right now.
I think a lot of other people did expect you to do well. And we know, I mean, these wins, they're hard fought for you. You opened up about battling an infection in your leg leading up to the competition this year. You even said for a while you weren't sure if you were going to make it to Italy. Take us through your recovery process and what that's done for just your mental health and your physical health as you've prepared for these games.
Yeah, this has actually been really, really challenging, the lead up to the games. And I have to give a huge shout out to the USOPC's medical staff and Amber Donaldson and all the medical doctors there, because actually 2 weeks out, I was driving an hour to Cortina to have my leg looked at and for treatment and stuff. And I'm not going to lie, during those drives and during that, there was question marks. And I knew the confidence I did have is they would do everything in their power to help me get to the start line as strong as I could be. but I did slip into a lot of self-doubt and questioning what kind of athlete I would be. And especially when I spent so many years and hours training for that moment, for the start line, specifically for these races, specifically for the cross-country races, and for potentially for it to slip away. I was scared because I remembered what it was like in 2018 for me, where some of the races slipped away with a broken elbow. But the one confidence I did have that helped my mental health is just knowing my team was going to show up for me. And I did work with Emily, who's our sports psychologist, and tried to do a lot of, use a lot of techniques and tools to not panic and just how to just stay calm and present.
A reminder, it does take a team, so shout out to Emily and everyone who's been helping you through this whole thing. Speaking of a team, I know you've talked so often about your relationship with your mom, who adopted you from Ukraine as a single mom. Talk about the role that she's just played in your life and helping you get to this moment, to this stage.
Oh my gosh, I just love seeing pictures of her. I mean, she's the reason why I'm able to dream and chase these dreams. She did so much for me on my sporting journey before I had partnerships and the support and making national teams, and literally helped me and was the first person to believe in me. And she believed in me before she even met me in Ukraine, and just based on a picture. And so to have her here with me at the finish line and able to put these gold medals around her neck and say thank you in person, it just means so much more. And knowing I can hear her voice when I'm crossing the finish line and hear her cheering, and it just is that extra strength and just that determination to do it for her.
I can only imagine. You're not done yet. You got 2 more competitions coming up. Biathlon sprint pursuit tomorrow. The 20-kilometer cross-country race is on Sunday. So how are you feeling? Are you hoping to get 2 more medals?
Yeah, I mean, as an athlete and a competitor, I would love to be able to bring home more hardware for Team USA and continue to add to my tally. But at the same time, I'm just really looking for that perfect race. And for biathlon, for me, it is a challenge. I have to work really hard for my shots because I can't feel the trigger like my competitors can. So I know that'll be my weaker point, but I'm excited to just see what I can do and push my comfort zones and just represent Team USA to the best that I can.
We only have like 30 seconds left here, but we just saw that photo of you with all those medals, and I understand you have an interesting way of storing them in your socks. Is that right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, go figure, the girl with no legs. We get these really cool socks, especially from Nike. We get these really cool socks in our team kits, and that's where I can't wear them, so I store my medals in them.
They look great no matter where they are. Oksana Masters, congrats on everything. It is such a pleasure to have you with us this morning sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
All right, to our viewers, you can catch full coverage of the 2026 Winter Paralympic Games on NBC and on Peacock. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stick with us. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.